Hey everybody, what's going on? It's your friend James Shaw. Thank you so much for choosing to be here to hang out with us today. We are doing what we do. My goal is to always bring you people who are doing things at an elite level so that you can grow your business, you can become more efficient, and in this market, you can win. That's what we're going to do today. I'm excited to have Lindsey with us from Atlanta. Lindsey, thanks for joining us. Would you introduce yourself to everyone, tell them who you are and where you are, and a little bit about your business?
Well, I'm Lindsey Haas, and I am in the North Metro Atlanta area. So anything pretty much north of downtown Atlanta, I work. I'm going on my 19th year in the business full time, and I have two young kids, 11 and 16, and just moved my parents and my older aunt. She's 84. Just moved them in this past weekend, so it's been a crazy couple weeks for me, but still here and thriving, and business is good. So I'm very, very blessed to say that my business is actually up from last year, which was my record year last year.
You did 84 units last year, which is awesome while doing all the other stuff. So you know what you're doing. And in this market, we need to do that. And one thing we have talked about in a market like this is really being of great value to our sellers. In fact, the Shift book, Gary talks about two things. He talks about pricing it right, which you're great at, or you wouldn't sell 84 homes. But then he also talks about, what it's like for the staging and for the showing off of the property, because buyers just have more choices right now than they had a year or so ago. Every single state in this country has more homes on the market today than they had at this point last year. And like 20 of them have more homes for sale today than they had before the pandemic.
Yes.
So it's a price competition and a beauty competition at the same time. You're winning the beauty competition and the price, but we're talking about beauty today. Through your program, you call it, what do you call it? You call it stage, I'm sorry, prep, stage, and sell. And so we're going to walk through it today. This is a 3-piece thing you put together: prep, stage, and sell. Tell us about the prep.
So I've been doing this pretty intensely, probably since about 2012. 2017, I added the staging piece of it. I was kind of doing some light staging in the beginning, and then really got a warehouse, got a moving truck, got a full-time stager, a moving crew in 2017. So I've been doing it for a long time. But what I have discovered is that people want to be told what to do. They want to be handheld. They don't know what to do. It's kind of like if my car was malfunctioning, I don't know what's going on with it. I've got to take it to a mechanic, and he's going to tell me what's wrong with it and what he's got to do. And that's kind of what we have to do as realtors, is tell them this is what we need to do to get you top dollar. And I literally sit there and say to my sellers, like, if you do all the things I'm asking you to do, I'm going to sell your house, and I'm going to sell it for the most I can. And so when they're told those things, I mean, it's all about conviction and, making them feel heard, making them feel comfortable. And that's a big piece of my prep, is that I come in and say, I'm going to put together a list of things I call my wish list, room by room, of furniture placement, things that need to come out, upgrades that might have to be done, inspection related deal killers. And I'm going to put that list together, and then I'm going to guide you and bring people in that I know can get this done at a reasonable cost. I have a guy for everything. You name it. If it has to do with the house, I guarantee you I have a guy on speed dial. And when I call people, they answer. In fact, my buyer that just closed last week, the garage doors weren't working. And I said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And knocked her socks off because he was there like that day. And so I really have a good relationship with a lot of my contractors, and I have a guy for everything. So I kind of, make it easy on them. All they have to think about is where are they going, and they got to start packing. And so that's what I want them worrying about, and not all the other stuff that I kind of handle and guide them. And so once they sign the listing agreement, then I give them the list. And some of them go, oh my gosh, I can't do all these things. And I say, well, don't worry, I'm going to get a price, and then we can decide what you can afford to do. And we'll decide which things are the most important.
It's really good. Let's walk through then this prep part. So you're telling me you go on the listing appointment, and part of your listing appointment is room by room by room.
Yes.
And saying, this is great, and we probably need to adjust for this.
Yes.
That's a tight line to walk. You're
Yeah.
in someone's house, and we don't have a signed listing agreement yet, and you're building relationship, but also telling them, here are some things we need to fix. I feel like that could get a little wonky if not done right.
Yes. So I do it very lightly on the listing appointment until they sign the listing agreement. I'm very positive. I compliment them on their house. I make them feel good about their house. And then I walk out, and if I have a listing agreement signed, or if I get it signed later, I just say, okay, well, I'm going to come back and we'll go room by room and put together a game plan, and I'm going to help you. So don't stress about this piece of it. But I have won so many listings because another agent came ahead of me and just ripped the house apart. This needs to be done. This is awful. This is going to be a problem. And that's not what I do. I come in with a positive attitude, complimentive, and make them feel there's hope.
Can you give me an example then, if we're walking through the house? What are the common things that you point out? Because I imagine we have similar things in most listings. And how do you share it with them in this conversation so they don't feel attacked, but yet recognize they've got to make some updates?
One of the things that really resonates with people is that I actually walk the whole I never wear stilettos because I'm always wearing boots or wedges because I walk properties. And so I walk the outside, I look in their crawl space, I get in their attic, and I'm looking for issues. And they're like, oh gosh, none of these other agents did this. I'm like, well, I'm here to make sure I set you up for success. And they're like, oh, whew, okay. Well, that looks bad for the other agent because they're not looking at all those things and trying to protect them. But I'll look in, like, a lot of houses have what they call roof sway. So roof sway, when there's heavy winds, your roof kind of goes like this. Well, what happens when that you get cracks above your door. And so buyers see these cracks and they're like, oh my God, there's a foundation issue. No, there's not, because there's not cracks in the basement or the second level. It's just on the upper level a lot of times. And so I say these things are what scare buyers away. If I find mold, if I find cracks in the foundation walls that maybe aren't causing an issue, but they're still cracks, those are things that scare people away. And so I'm really looking for a lot of the deal killers, because right now what I'm finding, I think the last I heard, 40% of contracts are falling through. And I think it's much higher than that. I think it's probably closer to 50% of contracts are falling through, and buyers are terminating over the silliest things.
Yeah.
So I've been doubling down on my repair list and saying, here's what I don't want you to have a lost contract, because then your property is stigmatized. My goal is to get you set up for success so that we don't have a contract fall through because of a loose toilet.
Yep.
There's things that we want to put together. Some of these houses that people have been in for 30 years, and haven't done a home inspection, I'm requiring them to do a home inspection.
Well, that was going to be my next question, because you're right about transaction fallout being at all-time highs. Maybe by you it's 40%. The national number is somewhere around 20, and it's going to vary market to market. It's all-time high. And the way we can prevent this is by doing what you're doing. But then I was saying, you're also starting to knock on the door of, we need an inspector to come in and look at this stuff. How do you know when to bring one in and when not? And tell me your process for that.
If they've been in their house more than like 10 years, it's really a must, especially if it's an older home. I have a couple houses that have been in maybe 5 or 7 years, and they're much newer homes, so I'm not too worried about it. But if it's an older home or a really big house that they've been in, I have one right now that's about to list, and I think they're going to be like at 1.2 million, and it's probably 6,000, 7,000 square feet, and they've been there 30 years. So they've got to get a home inspection.
Yeah.
So,
what are some common adjustments you have people make, Lindsey? Like, I imagine there's some pretty blanket ones that in just about every house you're saying you should probably do these things. What are those?
Painting, number one. People, buyers feel like they're paying top dollar. They're paying higher interest rates. They're paying all their own closing costs. They don't want to lift a finger. So I'm really encouraging my sellers to go in and paint. And, I used to be the infamous agreeable gray, but now I've kind of moved to an alabaster, pretty much all white, clean slate. And that way the buyers can just come in and make their accent walls and envision their own. On the inspection related items, when I put that list together, I can actually take the printout and circle all the things I want my contractor to do, all the things my electrician to do, all the things my mold guy to do, whatever it is. I'm giving them each a list of things that they've got to do, and and a lot of times I can send the list or send pictures, and they can put that together just from what I have. There's an app called Company Cam, and I've been using that lately, and it's really nice because I can actually take pictures of each issue with the house, and then put together, and I'm trying to pull it up here, put together a picture with a description, and my contractors know exactly what they need to do. So like I have this, I don't know if you can see that, but this is a house, and I have Ivan's to-do list and I have Jesus's to-do list. So I have two different contractors working on this house on these items. And so here Company Cam allows me to take pictures and put full descriptions of what I want done so that there's no level of miscommunication. And I can actually print this out in color on a PDF, email it to them, or print it out and give it to them in person. So this has been extremally helpful in getting me more organized and having that list put together. So Company Cam is that. If you get the highest premium, it's $250 a month. I don't think you have to have that because we can take payments through it and stuff like that. But the people pay my contractors directly, so I make no money on what my contractors are doing, because my goal is to get done as much as I can, because I'm going to make a commission. That's my product. And I tell my clients, like, I'm not making money on you paying my contractors, because if I make money, then that means I'm getting less done on the list. And so they really appreciate it.
Lindsey, but you're also having conversations right now with sellers who want to, thought they were going to get this price, and now they're finding out they're going to get this price. And then you're saying, in addition to that, I recommend these repairs, and we're going to talk staging in a minute. Tell me about this, because they thought they were getting this. Now they're getting this, plus they're going to pay this. So now they're getting this. Like, walk me through what that conversation's like.
So I like to tell stories and what has worked in the past with other people. And that really helps sellers to accept this is the strategy they need to go with. But it's really awesome when I walk in and say, out of the 85 transactions I did last year, 57 of those were listings, and I sold all 57 of them. That's pretty profound. And so they're like, oh, wow. Okay. All right. So I promise you're in good hands. I know what I'm doing, but you got to trust me through this process. What I'm giving them is a range of price. I have one where I was like $799, maybe $825. I said, because the master bathroom, kind of needs some love, and I feel like the buyers are going to have a problem with that. I really don't want to push to that $825. But if you want to be under contract, let's say in 2 weeks, maybe have multiple offers and be able to dictate your move date, I really think we need to go $799.9. And I've done this strategy with multiple different ones, and they've all been under contract pretty darn quick. And so we go $799. Then they're able to we actually, one in Roswell, I sold, listed it for $799. We ended up getting 4 offers, sold for $818. This was probably about 6 months ago. And they got to stay in the house for 2 months for free while their house was being built in Utah.
That's great.
So
it's almost like here's an as-is price. If you don't do anything, don't fix anything, here's your price.
Yeah.
If you do fix some stuff, you're going to pay some money, but you can probably get this. Is that kind of what you're suggesting?
Yes. Yeah. But I try not to do the as is, because no matter what you list the house for as is, what I have found is that they still want money off.
Of course.
And then they still want to ask for repairs. And I set them up. And of course, this is after the listing agreement signed. I say every buyer is going to ask you for repairs, every one of them. And unless we're in a multiple offer situation and we're, it's crazy, which I hope would happen, but it's not a guarantee. Just prepare yourself. Even though I'm making you do all these things, they're going to come back and ask you for more. So I'm happy clients have their expectations set before something happens. And so I'm kind of going over all of those things, because then there's no surprises. Remember when we spoke last that I mentioned that they're going to do their home inspection. And like, if we go under contract and they're about to do their home inspection, I remind them again, like, hey, don't forget, I know we did a lot to get this house ready where it is now. And I'm so glad
to come back with more.
Yeah, they're going to ask you for more. So prepare yourself. Yeah. But we're going to work through it.
Well, we get rid of them being offended and look at all the stuff we've done. You're just telling, this is how the game is played, which, by the way, in the house you're going to buy, you're going to ask for stuff too. It's just the reminder. All right. So that's the prep. Then you go in and stage. And when people hear this, like you said, you've got a warehouse, you've got stuff. It didn't start that way for you.
No.
This is something you kind of lean into, but this is a key piece for you. Tell us about your staging plan.
So I used to take stuff off my own walls. And my husband at the time would come home and like, where's our mirror in the foyer? I'm like, I'll get it back, and I'll get it back soon, I promise. So I kind of did light staging, and I see a lot of other agents kind of doing some light staging where they say they do staging and then they just put a couple vases on the countertops and a couple pillows on the couch and stuff like that. But I'm actually bringing in real furniture. So I have a 3,000 square foot warehouse. I bought a moving truck who we call Bertha. I paid $16,000 for that truck. That thing has been so good to me. Just a box truck. And then I found, some guys that move for Amazon and do logistical moves and help people move their houses. So it's just, they're very flexible, and they have like 10 guys. So anytime I need somebody, I can get somebody like the next day. So just real flexible team. And so I tell my sellers, like, hey, there's other agents that say they stage, but sometimes they're going to do virtual staging or very light staging, where I'm actually bringing furniture in that I know appeals to today's buyers, because my job is to appeal to the masses. And I'm not here to tell you that I love your draperies, I love your bedspread, I love your couch. I'm here to say, this is what we got to do to get you top dollar and get you the most offers. And so I invested my own money in offering this to you for free, because I know that it's that important. And when people go through this process with me, they really realize that my team has really bent over backwards to make sure that no leaf is left unturned and that their house looks impeccable. In fact, I've had some call me and say, I really feel like we're misleading buyers because I think you made my house look better than it actually is. I'm like, okay, well, do you want me to throw some underwear on the floor and take another picture? I don't know how to fix this problem. But again, my whole motto in life is exceeding expectations and setting standards in real estate. And when I can knock the socks off of my clients, they remember that, and they know that I will take good care of all their friends and family. So I'm probably 95% of my business is by referral and repeat. 5% is people finding me online. I actually am terrible at follow-up. I'm terrible at prospecting, and I wish I could be better at it, because I probably could close more business, but I just have worked really hard over these years to just make deep connections with my clients and know that I'm going to take really great care of them. And that has been my biggest, Gary Keller had us read a book called Talking Points, or I had to how to find it, but Talk Triggers, that's what it's called, Talk Triggers. And I kind of read half of it and I was like, oh my gosh, I've kind of mastered that, because a lot of my clients are out there like salespeople working hard to get me business, because they know that I can get the job done, and they know I'm going to take care of every aspect of the process so that it's manageable and less stressful. So on the staging side, I tell them too that all my stuff stays through pictures, through showings, through the appraisal. Once the appraisal is complete, we come back, we pick everything up, and then I allow them to start packing. The worst thing we can do for our clients is to allow them to pack up their entire house before the appraisal is done. Because what happens, and I've actually used this myself, what happens when I get the appraisal back and it's $20,000 low, and I look at those appraisal pictures of the interior shots and everything is packed up and they're living on paper plates, these people are committed, and I'm not going to, back down on our asking for the price reduction.
Right.
So a lot of things kind of go into that. So the staging aspect of it, they're trained to just leave everything in place as how I put it. We even have them take pictures of their beds on their cell phone, so they know exactly how the pillows look. I've actually gotten some pictures back where there was words. We stopped using words on pillows because people were putting them upside down.
Everything's a system, Lindsey. It's all a system. And so your system is, by the way, that you don't charge for your staging, because you've built this up. So this is a service that when they hire you and they pay you your fee, then this is something that they get. If someone was wanting to start staging, like you said, you borrowed stuff from your own house, what would your suggestion be of the person who wants to start to move that direction?
I got storage units in the first. So I started with one storage unit and just started getting stuff off of Facebook Marketplace and garage sales, and just, in Wayfair. I have a account rep with Wayfair, Jocelyn, Maine. There's a couple local stores here. If I'm in a pinch and I need to get something quickly, I have a stager account with these furniture companies that give me a little bit off on the price. And so I started with a 1 unit, then grew to 2, then grew to 3, then grew to 4. And then we finally found a warehouse that was reasonably priced. Then we went from one side of the warehouse, cut a hole. The people next to me moved out, and so I cut a hole in the wall and moved into the other side. So now I have 2 warehouse units, and my truck gets to park there. And it's been a lot of work, but owning the staging side of it, I get write-offs with all the furniture. I get write-off with the truck. I get, write-offs with the warehouse. And so financially, I've heard of people saying, there's no way it's free. I've heard people on calls saying, there's no way she could do it for free. Well, I actually really do.
Yeah.
But,
well, you just get stuff done. I mean, Lindsey, you just get stuff done. You know what you're doing. You know how it works. And you're always looking as a way to get better and offer more value for what you do. And that's the third part. You get the house sold. So you say it's prep. You give them all the prep stuff. Here's the work we need to do. Stage. Here's the stage we need to do. But sell it. Ultimately, you're doing all this work. You might as well get paid. Talk about your strategy to get it sold.
So a lot of sellers think, well, if I'm going to sell it for this, or they're only offering this, well, I'm not lifting a darn finger. And I kind of set the expectation, like the buyers are going to expect you to do something. So once that list comes through, they're going to probably ask you for 10 things. We're going to say yes to some of them. We're never going to say no. I just made an offer on $1 million property for a buyer, and my buyers are cash, and they came in a little low. And the listing agent says, yeah, they're just not going to respond. And I'm like, how can we as professionals
Yeah, so
not
stupid.
respond to an
Yep.
offer? That's like being at an auction and, me saying, I'll pay this price, and the auctioneer just ignores me. Like, is that going to happen? No. Like, I always tell my sellers, you've got to respond to something. Let's make this a happy transaction. Let's respond. I know you don't want to, and I know you're really upset because of low offer, but we're still going to respond. We're going to send a counter. And so I just kind of coached them on that, because my clients would have paid more for that house had they got a counter. But the agent just completely shut down all communications, and we moved on and bought another one. And they ended up spending $200,000 more.
Never be the one to say no. That's like real estate 101. It's one of the first things I learned when I started selling was just don't say no, send something else back. Even in that case, if they just responded at full price, at least you're having a conversation. But that's so stupid.
And a professional response to the
Of
other
course.
agent to say, I know you're probably struggling because your
Yep.
buyer made a lower offer, and I
Yep.
understand what you're going through, but here's our response. We've only been on
Mhm.
the market 4 days, and hopefully we can work it out, and just present it and see what your seller says.
Yeah.
Something just to kind of appease it over.
Keep it rolling. You
Yeah.
talk about pricing though, where, and I know we brought it up earlier, but do you want to sell in 2 weeks or 2 days? Sort of conversation with the seller. Can you tell us about that?
So I just give them the options. At this price, I think we'll be under. My goal is to get you under contract in less than 30 days, because what we're finding with the research is after 30 days, our sellers are getting 1 to 3% less. After 60 days, that increases. After 90 days, that increases. I said 120 days, forget it. I'm done. I said, if I'm talking to you in 120 days, we got a major problem on our hands. So I really say, I want to get you under contract within 30 days because our offers are going to be higher. Now, this range, I'm going to tell you, on this one, I think this will get it done. At this price, you may sit for 60 days. Do you want to go through showings for 60 days and vacuum your vacuum lines and do all the things and get your dogs all out of the house for 60 days? No, God, no, I don't want to do that. Then I think we need to go with this strategy. So I give them options, and always they're going to pick, the lower one. I had one pick the higher one, and we sat for 3 weeks. And finally I said, are we ready to go down to the price that I suggested from the beginning? He goes,
Hmm.
yes, I'm ready.
Yeah.
We went down to that price and we sold.
There you go.
4 days.
Inventory is up in Atlanta and prices are leveling off. What is your advice to agents right now as the market is changing and evolving? Some of them have never worked it before. You have. You remember 2008 and 9 and all that kind of stuff. So you were selling then. What's your advice going into a just confusing and changing market to other agents?
Um, don't be scared. This business can suck the life out of you sometimes, and you just really have to keep your head strong and have a positive outlook that it's going to be okay. And how you feel and how you wake up every morning and your outlook on it is exactly what's going to happen to you. So I wake up every day and I know that God's going to provide for me, and I'm going to do the best that I can. And I have conversations with my sellers too, like, hey, we got to do something different. It's not working. I've tried at this price, and we need to adjust. And so I've taken some houses off the market and put them back on with a brand new price and brand new pictures. And that has worked a little bit. So we have to get really creative. I have spent every holiday with a seller before. I've done houses for 12 months. But we just have to get really creative, do a little bit more, showing them that we're doing a little bit more, showing up,
Mhm.
doing content, try to bring buyers yourself over to show the property yourself. We got to do open houses. We have to get out there and show them that we are working for them.
Yep.
So I had a friend of mine that, is starting to do the staging stuff. And I saw him, on a video on social media, hanging pictures and doing this and that. And I called him up and I said, no, you are not the stager. You are the realtor. And I said, let me tell you what's going to happen, because I've been here before, is that the seller that their house is not selling and they see you on a video hanging a picture, they're going to wonder why you're not working to sell their house. So you have to really stay in your lane and be really careful with that and be the professional that they hired. They didn't hire you to be the stager. They hired you to sell their house and be the negotiator.
Yeah, it's
So,
good.
yeah.
Lindsey, thank you for joining us. You got a lot going on, and I appreciate you taking time out to help our people. Congratulations on what you've built and all the people you're helping, and we appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Hopefully it's helpful.
It